down a stretch to the edge. What a hurl by Jackson! Highlight reel touchdown! The seed is going to be Louisville and Pat. Louisville, national champions.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the third Banner Pod crew is here once again. It's been an amazing season, an emotional roller coaster. I know I shed a few this afternoon in the Yum Center, so we just had to rally the troops and get together and just have a little special edition powwow, and hopefully some of you guys enjoy seeing us back on here. It's been a long time, guys, for us to get together, and it's been a long time since we could be happy about basketball. Welcome, Pat, Kyle, Ty. Thank you guys for joining me. Everybody that's watching, what do you guys think? How were you feeling at about 4:30 this afternoon?
Well, first off, I want to thank anybody that joins us because I know this is a special episode. As you can tell, my voice is kind of raspy. I was at the game today, and these boys were sitting next to me, at least a couple of them, and they know how much I was yelling. So that, I'm just happy for the season, man. Happy to be back on here for a special episode. Somebody said our schedule is vile work. Well, it's about 4 months. So I would say so.
Is that Mark?
I think it is. I don't know.
It is.
But nonetheless, man, it's good to be back on here because the team really deserves a recap of the season. And Ash had the idea to just go ahead and do an episode, since why not? Everything's still set up. We just have to dust our mics off. So I'm glad to be on here and glad to see some old familiar names in the chat right now.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean,
how you feeling, Pat?
It was a special day, man. I'm going to go into a little bit of a monologue here, not a Ross style monologue, but I remember when
Ross is already catching strays. We have been on for 2 minutes, including the intro.
It's like we haven't skipped a beat, man.
We haven't missed a beat.
That's right. No, I remember when I was a kid. My dad would take me to Freedom Hall, and I can, my earliest memory is saying "Boo Brewer" when I was like 5, 6 years old. And those memories stick, and it's what developed me into being, a big time Cards fan. And I had the pleasure today to take my 4-year-old son to the game. And, the past 3 years, I was like, gosh, man, how am I going to get this kid to like Cardinal basketball?
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit, you think about it, it's emotional. My son was there, the Chucky's chant started. My 4-year-old was doing the Chucky chants. And
all right, real quick, Pat.
Yeah.
Do you want to know who started? I'm not kidding.
He's not joking.
He's not joking.
Kyle started the Chucky chant. I was relentless. I didn't think anybody else was doing it at first. And then finally it just took off.
There you go, man. So Kyle, you created that memory for me. And it's special.
I started it. I didn't do it on my own, that's for sure.
I think he's gonna, like, when he looks back, 10 years from now and is a big time Cardinal fan, hopefully. I think that's going to be the memory that sticks. So yeah, no, special day for the Cards, special day for me personally. It was awesome, man.
Pat, you kind of talk about, like taking your kid to the game. Well, I was having this talk with Kyle, Ash, and Chris today when we were at the game, and I look forward to the day where I can take Talon to the game because today was special. First off, I got to thank Ash. He found a way to get me a seat at the game today, and I can't thank you enough, brother, because today was awesome. I haven't been I haven't been in the Yum Center in years. I'm just gonna admit it. I haven't been in years. And today was special. I had so much fun. The atmosphere was incredible. When I think about this year and this team, I kind of think of, some people, we obviously call it the revival. People think of this as a revolution, but I think of it as an evolution of just this team. I'm not gonna lie. At the beginning of the year, boys, it was rough. We didn't start out hot. I know a lot of us remember. I think one of the last episodes we did was the night before the Tennessee game, right?
Yeah, I think
And
so.
we talked about that. Everybody knows how the Tennessee game went.
Coach House.
And I think about
Dez.
how this team and even this staff and Coach Kelsey have come from that day to now. It's truly incredible. Hats off to PK and his staff and the players for reviving this program. I know the last 2 years when we have been doing this show, we talked about basketball, and I know there's plenty of days where I told you guys I don't want to talk about basketball. I don't want.
Yeah.
Very
bluntly.
and today is just a bittersweet day, and wow, it was a lot of fun, and we still have more to go. We got the ACC tournament. We're going to be in the NCAA tournament. Just truly an incredible evolution from the start to now. And so many players, so many coaches have taken huge steps to achieve this and get us to where we are today.
So here's my thoughts. So I want y'all to go back, and I'm going to ask the chat and the listeners not to do this because it was a disaster. But I want y'all to go back in your minds to when Dusty May was believed to be a done deal. And when I say believe, I'm talking at the top of the university athletic program, at the very top. It was believed that Dusty May was going to be our coach. I tweeted done deal based on an impeccable source that I no longer even have. They were that high up. I knew it wasn't going to last. And I will never say anything's a done deal to this day, except that I'll die one day. That's it. And even if I tweet out that I'm going to die one day, it's a done deal. Maybe I'll be immortal, because at this point, when that's how confident I was that Dusty May was going to be our coach. So go back to the pod episode we did when Dusty May picked Michigan. When the Woj tweet came out, I checked the Woj account because I thought it was one of those fakes.
Right.
And I saw he had 6.1 million followers. I about crap my pants because of my stupid tweet saying it was a done deal. We get in here and we're all pissed. We're all just pissed. And I know me and Ty in particular, but I know a lot of us were like, we're cooked, man.
We were downtrodden that day.
You got to think of where we were at the time in our heads. At that time, we went through hell and back. Scandals. Chris Mack's tenure started to get worse every year. The COVID year was the best year we had, and they canceled the tournament. And after that, it was just cooked, and it just got worse. And then, of course, we know what happened after that with Kenny Payne. So we're all on here doing these coaching things. I did a deep dive for Dusty May where I spent hours putting that together. Michigan fans probably thank me to this day because they know more about their head coach than they ever would have. I ended up getting so pissed, I deleted that.
Remember, they invaded our chat during our next episode.
I deleted.
We had to block them.
I deleted that episode because I didn't want their damn gratification. So anyway, to get back to the episode where we're on, we're like, man, maybe we're never going to get back. And then I want you to think about when Pat Kelsey's name came up. Not a damn one of us wanted him. We didn't. Some didn't want him more than others, Ross. But yeah. But then I want you to think about, he does his press conference. He gets on an X Spaces that night. And I'm like, okay, he's at least going to engage this. We're already better than the last 10 years because he actually acknowledges we exist. So He's already better than KP night one. So that's like, okay. Let me entertain this. So then we get the transfer portal, and I'm like, we've got some good pieces here. He put a team together pretty well, all things considered. So then I want you to then think about the beginning of the season. Ash, I know you were at the Tennessee game because me and you were up in the same section. We weren't sitting together, but we were up there. It was a bloodbath.
It was rough.
From the tip. From the moment it tipped off, we turned the ball over and it was over. It was over before it even started. And we
shot
were
like
hyped.
13% from three or something. It was
We were
crazy
hyped.
low.
We were hyped. So then, we rattle off a couple of wins against some inferior competition. It's like, okay, well, that's better than what we've done last year, but that's not, that Tennessee loss is lingering in the back of your mind. Then you go to the Bahamas.
And we were the bullies.
You start cooking.
Mhm.
And we smoke IU, which I was nervous because IU is a big physical team. I never trusted Woodson, but I do follow
But they
IU.
have some talented players.
I follow IU more than most. They were ranked like number 13. I really thought they were going to be a matchup nightmare. We killed them. Then we beat West Virginia, who, when they were healthy, was a top 20 team, Then Case and Pryor goes down against Oklahoma. We end up losing that
doubt
game.
this, but
So then emotionally, put yourself where you were. Corn Johnson was already out. Traore was out for weeks with a broken arm. You lose Case and freaking Pryor, the heart of your team up to that point. Well, you could argue Chucky as well, but honestly, it's like, you know what? Chucky's like the spirit of the team, but at that time, Case and Pryor was like the heart of our team. Think about where you were at with all of those injuries in our record. Like, I'll tell you where I was at. I said, if we have a winning record, win 16 games, that's gonna have to work due to all these limitations. There's no freaking way you can expect us to make a tournament without all these players. And then we get to 6-5, and then we rattle off 19 out of 20 to go 25-6.
Nuts, man.
Nuts.
Chucky just emerged as such a leader for this team when we needed it the most. I've said it many times in the Discords, but Chucky's the best guard we've had since Russ, and I don't care what anybody says. The way he gets it done on both ends of the floor is just impressive. I know some people in the Discord gave me crap about that, saying Carleek was better, but I'm sorry. Chucky's the best guard we've had since Russ.
Chucky's been phenomenal.
I'd agree. To kind of hit on what Kyle said too, the emotions of the season. I remember after the Ole Miss game.
We don't need any Hope Solo stuff.
Our defense was awful. And Ty, I think you were there with me. I said, man, I'm all about the rah-rah that Pat has brought to this team. And I understand the injuries, but I'm so impatient that I can't excuse the level of defense we're playing and how we're getting beat. And I was down, man. I was down because 3 years of bad basketball, and we're 6-5, and I'm thinking, here's another year I've got to wait to really get pumped about basketball again. And the switch, and I should have been patient. I should have said, hey, they've got a whole new team here.
Yeah.
They're going to have to adjust to not having Pryor, not having Johnson. And they did, man. And I tell you, the turning point for this team and what makes this team go, in my opinion, is the fact that Terence Edwards wanted to and became a top-notch defensive stopper, man. I mean, this guy, if you watched him early in the year, if you watched him highlights and games that I watched last year, he was a good player, but he was an average defender. He wasn't a guy that you're going to stick on the other team's best wing. Now he's a guy that does that, and that's the turning point of the season for me. And, man, I mean, when you have him and Chucky being able to guard the best guard and the best wing on the other team, that's huge, and that's how we've won basketball games. Because let's be honest, guys, we have games where we shoot really well, but there's a lot of games like today where you look up and we've shot like 40%, 41%, and we're still winning games big, man.
Mhm.
So that defense has been key, and that's what's going to carry us in the ACC and NCAA tournament.
Real quick before somebody else goes, I just want to say thank you all for tuning in. I see some multiple platforms, Power 10, Card Companions in here. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I know a couple of y'all apparently planned on, which I know how it goes. I mean, I'm not surprised everybody planned on doing a post game after senior day. It was kind of like a spontaneous thing on our part. We really didn't know who was doing what, but thank you all for tuning in. If we cut or if we win at the same time somebody was playing on it, that wasn't intentional. And then also real quick, mistakes were made. We did talk on our last episode about 4 months ago. We've just, a lot of people have had a lot of things go on to the point where our episodes it was hard to even get people on, and we didn't want to put out poor content, but we want to come on here tonight because this is a special night. So it's a special, it's a unique, isolated episode, but it's a special night. So here we are. So anyway, sorry, y'all. Whoever was going to say their next point, go ahead.
I was going to say, Pat, you kind of talked about like that Ole Miss game. I remember after the Ole Miss game, I know we didn't do an episode, but we were talking in our Discord and various things. I was very tough on PK and the staff and the team that night because I'm right there with you, man. It was pathetic defense, poor play, and we were tired of seeing it at that point. You know what I mean? I'm not going to apologize for feeling that way because I think even PK realized, and this is what I was going to say, where it all turned. I think those losses to Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Duke really did wonders for PK, his staff, and his team. And that's where I got to give credit because they learned so much from those 3 games. I remember when we were watching the Duke game, we were talking. I thought PK lost the game at about that 10-minute mark in the second half when his team was struggling. Duke was on a run. He didn't use any of his timeouts. A lot of at that point we had a lot of injuries still, and we were adjusting to it. And I thought he lost the game because he didn't call a timeout. He didn't get his team rest. But I think from that point on, like he even acknowledged it in a presser shortly after that about how he's preparing his team. And you could tell from that moment on, the preparation, the scouting, everybody knows where to be. And they just play as a unit. He talks about the power of the unit. The whole team plays as a unit, and they pick each other up. And like I said, those 3 losses sucked. We all hated it. Nobody wants to lose, right? But those 3 losses to me were more important for this team's development than even some of these other wins against certain, random teams. They learned so much from their losses. PK became a way better coach, and I think he'd even tell you that he got better as a coach this year. You could see it from the start to the finish. Yep. It's very impressive to see how they progressed as the season went on.
You know what impresses me about this team in particular, being his first team, is they have now set the standard for the culture of Louisville basketball going forward. They did it immediately. So that's the beautiful thing about this team is they aren't the most talented. They aren't obviously the most deep, but what they've done is they've showed like, this is a team that loves each other and will put each other first. We will never put ourselves above the team, which is a cliche for a lot of people when they say it and they don't live it. But this team lives it. They work their asses off. I heard PK talking about James Scott scouting before this game because obviously he drew the assignment of Reynaud. And apparently James Scott is a relentless scouter, like before the games, to the point where like the other players have to keep up with him. Well, that's a standard now that is going to be set. Like, if you're a future player for this program and you think you're just going to go in there and not scout and not put the work in to really know your opponent, like that standard's been set. It's here. PK's not – that's the thing. Like, I think even Pat Kelsey's learning, like, how good can my teams be? What can they do? And when they start doing stuff like what this team has done this year, I feel like he's going forward. He's going to say, like, that is the standard. You scout your ass off. And, oh, by the way, Reynaud got some points. He did not play his best game today. He could have done a lot more, and I attribute that to James Scott. So, like, that's just one example, though. Like, these guys have done so much for this community. They play hard defense, which some of Pat Kelsey's College of Charleston teams at that level of competition didn't. And, I mean, he would probably disagree because I remember when Rutherford brought it up, he kind of kicked back. But, I mean, they gave up a lot of points, and I mean, yeah, they didn't have the athletes we have, but they also weren't playing the athletes that we play. So, like, the defense is now the standard. Like what Terence Edwards did that Pat talked about, reinventing the wheel on defense. I agree with them. That was the turning point, was when Terence Edwards became like a beast on defense to help Chucky out, because there was no Corin Johnson, who's a defensive specialist. So, like, the defense being the way it is, like the power to unit and all that, that's been a thing for PK. But I feel like now we're going to have, like, I don't know. There's things that this team is uniquely done that I think going forward will be the standard. And when we have more talented teams and deeper teams, that standard can't drop. And that's when you start talking about Final Fours and national championships.
Well, and I just kind of want to piggyback off some of the things that you guys have said already. This team, like, they play together, they play for each other, and it makes them so fun to watch as a basketball team. But going on kind of a little bit of a monologue myself, you guys know I like to do that from time to time. But previous to this year, I'd say I'm 45 years old, so I'm the oldest one on this show. And previous to this year, among non-Final Four teams, I mean, because everybody kind of understands how special those teams are that get to the Final Four. But previous to this year, I'd say my non-Final Four favorite teams have been the '97 team that got to just on the doorstep of the Final Four, and losing in the regional final and Dwan Wheat's last game. Dwan's been my favorite player of all time for U of L. And then Reese Gaines' senior season, when Ellis Miles got hurt against Marquette, and then we lost in the opening round, unfortunately, of that tournament. Those were previously my two favorite teams, I think, that didn't make a Final Four. And obviously I'm getting ahead of myself because who knows what's in store for this team. But if this team doesn't make a Final Four, I'm going to say right now that this team is my favorite team of all time, outside of one of those type teams. And maybe they'll shock us even more and get there, but who knows. But where I'm going with that is that this team is so damn special. I had kind of given up. I hate to say that. I had kind of given up on Louisville basketball ever getting back to relevancy. With the way that college athletics has been changing, now is the absolute worst time in the history of college basketball to have a bad team. I mean, we have gone 2,915 days since we won a game in the NCAA tournament. 2,915 days. Kids that are seniors in high school right now were in the fourth grade the last time we won an NCAA tournament game. Combining that with all the other stuff, whether it's, investigations, having our banner come down, going through, thinking that we made a good hire in Mac, and then, that fizzled out. And then, 4 wins 2 years ago, 8 wins last year. Man, I had just given up. Like, I never thought we would get back to relevancy. And as that found, we were about, when Chucky left the game and they started subbing in the other guys, I actually started tearing up today. And I just was looking around. I was like, I never thought we would see this again. I legitimately never thought we would see it again. The way the crowd was going, the way the pride that we were showing for our team. I have been very proud to be a University of Louisville fan and University of Louisville alumnus because of the way this team has represented our university, played with pride. You can tell they enjoy playing for one another, and they understand what they are bringing this community. They understand that they are bringing it together and helping us to feel good about ourselves again. 2,915 days again since we won our last NCAA tournament game. We are within a couple of weeks of winning another. I fully believe that we're going to win a game or two in the NCAA tournament this year.
Ash, that was well said, by the way. To add on to just how impressive this season is, and you kind of talk about like they understand the community and what they're doing for the community and Louisville fans. That adds to how special it is, because this is a tall task. I mean, let's just be honest. This team was tasked with not only just playing well and representing U of L and trying to bring it, but to bring the program back from where it's been in the last 2 years. They've done it tenfold. And it's been a total team effort. It just adds to how special the group is, because 2 years ago we did a show where we lost an exhibition game to Lenore Rhine, and here we are today. We're just weeks away. I think Selection Sunday is next Sunday, right? And we're just a week away from the tournament, or 2 weeks away. Special team, man. Special team. A lot of good memories, and it's been a ton of fun. And they still have more room to go.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think Ty, you're right in the sense that this team isn't just about getting us back to the wins and the losses. We needed a
whole nother task.
We needed players that wanted to engage the fans and make the fans feel like there was something to root for again. And again, it goes beyond wins and losses. There was a connection to this team. I didn't feel connected to the last two teams. And yes, the losses helped that feeling, but they didn't get out into the community. The coach didn't, engage the fans, and this team did that perfectly. You got to, these guys have only been here 1 year, but it feels like I've gotten to know these players, Chucky. I mean, even people that, prior who hasn't played, like, I feel like I know these guys like I knew a Reese Gaines, a DeJuan Wheat, a Russ Smith,
I agree, Pat.
And
that's what makes it incredible. Yeah.
As a fan, is big. It goes beyond, winning all the games we did this year. So yeah, it's a special group. And Ash, I'm with you, man. This, other than those teams that, made it to the final weekend. And again, hopefully this team can do that.
Welcome, Larry.
Good to see you, Larry.
Is my favorite team, and I'm like you. Reese Gaines is my favorite U of L player of all time. I do have to correct you, Ash. We made it to the second game.
Oh, it was the second round. Okay.
Yeah, we lost to Butler after.
And still, if the NCAA didn't screw Marvin Stone, we might have made a run even without Ellis. But Marvin Stone got royally screwed by the NCAA.
So listen, I've got a question for you guys, and maybe I should give mine first so you guys can think about it a little bit. But what are your three biggest memories from this season? I'm curious, and I'll go ahead and start just because I'm sure you guys kind of have to sit and think about it, at least for a little bit. But
I think today is number one at this point.
Is it? Yeah.
See, like Chucky, the way that Chucky and the rest of the guys got their individual ovations, I kind of lost it at that moment. So that has to be number one for me right now.
Yeah.
And I will say, if you guys haven't watched the press conference, I do have it queued up so that we could watch it. But the reason I mention it right now is because in that press conference, Kelsey apologized for the way that he did the substitutions there at the very end, saying that it might have been
Kyle Smith, you can go cry about it.
But I'm like, dude, that was the perfect way. Like, the guys each got to have their own individual ovation and moment in the sun. So if Stanford's coaches complained about that, fuck you.
Kyle Smith, go cry about it, buddy. Go cry in a corner.
Right.
We don't care.
So I'm gonna give you my three biggest memories. Senior day, it's got to be up there. I don't know which one's number one, so I'm just gonna say senior day. at the end with the guys getting acknowledged. I don't know. I'm going to go before today. How about that? The 3 biggest memories before today, because it's like recency bias and it was awesome. I feel like everybody's going to say today. That's fine.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you 3 different ones. The sequence versus IU in the Bahamas where we boomed them and it ended with the Case and Pryor dunk on the breakaway. That's up there. Rain Smith at Pittsburgh. Because see, when Pitt's kind of stunk this year. But at the time, they still had a long home game winning streak. They were still considered a good team, and it was an intimidating environment. And they were hitting their shots, man. They were hitting 3 after 3. I mean, they were matching us. But Rain Smith just took over at the end. That's got to be up there. That's one of my top 3. Rain Smith versus Pitt. And I think the other one, and it's hard because you could go to Javon Hadley game against Clemson. You could go a lot of things, but I'm going to go the entire game at SMU because, during that win streak, I was thinking,
I was
okay,
say SMU too.
I really did think at that time, I was like, this is the one that's going to trip us up. I was like, they're not going to win every game going forward. They're not, which they damn near did. But at the time, I was thinking, like, they're not going to do that. So what game? And I'm looking at the SMU game. I'm like, we're going to have to play our best freaking game. And I mean, from wire to wire, it was a nose picking, ass kicking the entire time. And James Scott hit a freaking 3. I couldn't go to sleep that night. It was a 9 p.m. game. It ended at like 11:30. I'm wide awake at 3 a.m. because James freaking Scott hit a 3-pointer. I can't wrap my mind around it to this day. He sunk a 3. But that's got to be up there. So, again, just to recap, IU sequence where we boomed them, Rain versus Pitt at the end at Pittsburgh, and the entire SMU game from wire to wire. And then, of course, today goes without saying.
I think that the SMU and the IU games were 2 of the games that I had standing out as well. And the thing that gets me from the SMU game is not Chucky's 16 assists, not simply the fact that we blew them out, but because of the state of our program, the state of our fan base. Toward the end of that game, there was a very vocal Cards chant in the crowd for an away game. And my uncle was one of the people there, and he said it was real loud. So, like, the fact that, when's the last time we heard a Cards cheer at an away game coming through on the broadcast? I don't even remember the last time we heard that.
Yeah, that was epic. I forgot about the Cards chant at SMU until you brought that up.
Yeah, I think it's, Kyle, it's hard to think of other moments that were as special as those. I mean, for me, the Pitt game was huge because at the time, like you said, Pitt was considered a good team. It was the point of the season where you're like, all right, we're starting to win. We're starting to beat some teams, but are we for real? And like, I felt like we were for real after that Pitt game, going into that environment, playing a game that went down the wire, to the wire and coming out on top. I think that was huge for my confidence in the year. The SMU game obviously was big. You had records set in that game. Chucky assists, Rain Smith threes. I'll tell you a game that really like made me go from depressed to having hope again, and it's a loss, but is the Kentucky game.
Yeah.
I went into that game thinking we've got no chance. This is going to be embarrassing. This is, here's our season, again, just awfulness. And the beginning of that game did not change my mind, but man, we fought that game. And if it wasn't for Butler hitting everything he threw up, then that game might have been a win. And that was the game that just like switched the flip for me, or flipped the switch for me, because I went from hopeless to hopeful again. So, I mean, I think those 3 two of which you mentioned, but then the Kentucky game, which again, I know it's a loss against a rival, but that really changed my mindset on this team.
There's so many like individual memories, and like, you know, you can just pick them out. A lot of you guys have done it. You talk about the Kentucky game kind of giving you hope, and the IU game. I'm going to be unconventional. I think for me, the most three memorable moments from this year, I'm going to start off with PK's introductory press conference. Like that day, and how much that excited all of us. It really, really re-energized the program. And he came in and he landed and hit the ground running from day one. And he hasn't stopped since. You could feel the energy through the whole program. That's one of the most memorable moments of this season for me. And I know it might sound cheesy, but it is. I think of today with senior day. First time I've been able to go to a game in years, and to be a part of that and see Chucky kissing the Cardinal as he walks off that's going to stick with me, and I know a lot of fans. And the third is a moment that hasn't happened yet, and that's when we take the floor for our first round game in the NCAA tournament.
Oh, man. Selection freaking Sunday, man.
Guys, we've only won one ACC tournament game since we've been in the league.
I know, man. The ACC tournament's been depressing, man.
Hey,
we got to change that this year.
Selection freaking Sunday, I haven't watched it in years. Because if I know we're not getting picked, I'm not freaking watching it. I know other people disagree and are like, I'm going to watch it. Good for you. I can't do it because the NCAA tournament without Louisville was a freaking crime. And I'll tell you, the last one I watched was the year we got left freaking out because Mitch Barnhart was a chairman and put us the very first team out. And nobody saw that coming. Like, everybody had us in the field on their little bracketology brackets. So, like, I am so freaking pumped for Selection Sunday. That used to be like the day. Like,
yeah,
I don't care what's going on. Like, I'm making that time. I'm getting my bracket right in freaking front of me, and my heart's pounding because I'm trying to figure out who we're gonna play. And I'm just so glad that we're definitely gonna be back. Because see, for me, I got to the point mid-season where I'm like, man, I just still remember like we were 6-5, and I'm like, guys, we got to win at least 22 games. And that's before the ACC ended up being worse than I thought it would be. So I'm like, we got to win 22 games, bare minimum. And like, I remember everybody's reaction was like, that's going to be tough to do, man. That's going to be tough to do. I don't know where we're going to find some of these wins on the road. We got some tough games. And well, 25 freaking wins. He didn't even leave it in the because see, my thing at that time was like, people were like, well, you might be able to win 20. This is before we all found out the ACC was terrible. We were like, you know, you might be able to win 20 or 21. I'm like, hell no, you won't. Not with these freaking selection guys. Not with the amount of times we've been shafted by the committee. Absolutely not. You've got to win 22 bare minimum. And everybody was like, man, that's a lot of games. And he left no freaking doubt. None. No freaking doubt. 25 freaking wins, and we might not be done yet.
You know what's funny is Selection Sunday, when they're going through the bracket reveal.
Larry, I forgot about
typically the 6 versus 11 is like the last game they release in that bracket. And I could just see us now, because a lot of us have a lot of like bracket people, bracket talk, whatever. They have us kind of projected as a 6 seed right now. I could see it now. We're in the final region. We haven't been announced yet, and Kyle's just sitting there on Selection Sunday, just freaking out.
They're going to leave us out.
Wait a minute, what's happening? They're going to leave us out. He's going to freak out because we're the last.
Here's what he's going to be thinking.
Yeah. That's how I always am anyway.
I can see it now. But no, hey, listen, I'm just going to wrap up real quick, because when I said that, I could see there's a lot of reaction. That moment when we hear our name on Sunday, and then we get to Thursday or Friday, hopefully we're not like Thursday night at 11:20 p.m. in Portland or some shit, but when we get to see the ball tip and we're finally back in that bitch, we're in the final, or we're in the tournament. That's going to be.
We're going against Kenny Payne. I know that's
what I
do. They're going to put us against
Kyle. God damn it!
They're putting us against Arkansas. The seeds are going to line up. Man.
We're going to get the noon game on Thursday. That's going to really screw with us.
They're going to line the seeds up and make that happen. I'm calling my shot.
We're going to tip off at 12:20 a.m.
And I don't want to
Friday-
play because I can't
Friday.
stand. There's an Arkansas fan on Twitter, Hogball Burner. I can't
Oh,
freaking
no.
stand the guy. He used to be like, we used to be cool and DM and BS because we, you know, he was a UK troll for a while, but he's turned his attention to us for God knows what reason. So
Yeah,
we
Trent,
gotta
you're
win
right.
that game if we play them. We gotta freaking beat Arkansas.
Yeah.
More than beating Kenny Payne and John Calipari. I want Hogball Burner to suffer.
There you go, man. All right, so let's turn our attention. One thing I want to know about you guys, because one episode I did a lot of work for, and I enjoyed, even though it went forever because we had Ross's monologues on each player, but we kind of ranked the players
Forgot about that.
and stuff. And I don't want us to revisit those
That
rankings,
was terrible.
I want to know what I want to know a player from each of you guys. And I know like we could all answer Chucky, probably a lot of us could answer Fat, but I want to know a player from each of you guys that has like impressed you more this year than you thought initially when you went into the year.
Let me start because I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to bring it up, our little player ranking episode. If you remember correctly, right here, I had Chucky Hepburn as our most important player. And I think we have all seen how that turned out. For me, it's easily, and it's Javon Hadley. I know I talked a lot about him in the beginning of the year, and I was really
Just Arkansas.
excited to see him play. He's a dog, man. Just a dog. He does everything good. He's not great at one thing, but he does everything good. He plays defense. He passes. He can shoot. He can post up and score. Great teammate. Javon Hadley's easily my number one. Most impressive
Doc, and
player.
you're trolling as always. Some things
I
never
missed what the
change.
question was because I was reading the chat and then looking for gifts and stuff.
All right, Ash, what player on this team exceeded your expectations this year?
I got to
The most.
admit, like, I just had no expectations coming into the year. So, I mean, I was literally so downtrodden.
Can we
with the
ban
program.
Doc?
I think we might have to.
I was so downtrodden that, like, I mean, I literally started watching hockey last year because I didn't want to watch basketball.
Hey,
So, like,
Waterman's
I
played
had
a
no
couple good
expectations for anybody this year, to be honest.
Gotcha. My guy, and then Kyle, you can finish up. But my guy is James Scott. I think he was a guy that at the beginning of the year, everybody was like, you hear about NBA potential, and he's a young guy that you think is gonna develop in his sophomore year. Then the year started, and you're like, well, what did everybody see in this guy? It's kind of like a lot of players on our team. I think Fat was the same way. But
We talked about this at the game today. Even.
Yeah.
But I think James Scott, man, and if you're looking at a stat sheet, you'll say, yeah, James Scott's solid. But if you watch a game, man, and it goes back to what you said, Kyle, man, he's a relentless scouter. I mean, he knows where to be on the court at all times. And I'm impressed with his defensive ability, his help defense, and on-ball defense in the post. He's not the biggest guy in terms of strength and weight, but he holds his own down there, and he's knows how to use his height to his advantage. And he's not one of those guys that tries to block everything. He knows that, hey, there's times I need to block. There's times I need to hold my ground so that I can get the rebound, because sometimes you've got shot blockers that try to block everything and then they're out of rebounding position. And I don't think James does that. On the offensive end, obviously the big thing you see, the highlights are the alley-oops, put-back dunks. But again, if you watch a game, I mean, Chucky is the person that makes the offense run, but every offensive possession is initiated through James Scott at the top of the key. He can handle the ball out there. He's a good passer. probably the best passer we've had at that position since David Paget, I'd say. And I'm just immensely impressed. He's only 18 years old. I think he's gotten better this year. If he can figure out how to shoot, and that includes hitting free throws and developing like a 10 to 15-foot jumper, and develops maybe one back to the basket move, he is an NBA player, in my opinion. But he's so important to this team, man. I mean, I haven't looked. I wish I did before we did this, but if I had to bet, he's probably like top 3 and plus minus on the team because he's just big when he's on the court, whether it's offensive.
Another thing James Scott does that's impressive is that his ability, like off the ball, especially like after the timeout plays, inbounding the ball, he will set 3 or 4 flare screens to get guys open. And you know, everybody sees the guy curling off of the action and, you know, Rain gets open, hits a big 3 out of the corner or something like that. But what you don't see is James Scott creating that with 2 or 3 off-ball screens to get guys open. And sometimes the guy curling off the action, Rain, is a decoy, and then James Scott sets another screen and somebody backdoor cuts you to death. And so that's really important. But who did you say, Ty, was your player? Still Chucky?
It was Hadley.
Oh, of course you took Hadley. I thought you said Chucky.
I said, I'm glad that Pat brought it up because when we did that episode, I had Chucky, and some were like, "Oh, I don't know, it might be Edwards or it might be Pryor." Chucky, I think, has proven my list.
Hadley is the guy for me too, but I don't know. You know, actually, when I sit and think, Hadley is the most consistent player on the team, I think. Now, he has a few games where he'll disappear some on offense, but he's still doing a ton.
He's doing other
Rebounding.
things.
And
defense.
yeah, he's doing other things. So it's like he's never just completely non-existent.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm gonna go and I know some people like Terence Edwards is erratic as hell with the ball at times, and he's a guy who plays really well and gives me a lot of anxiety with his herky jerky movements.
And he appears so slow at times, and then next thing you know, he's getting it done. So it's
his 10 pump fakes. And I mean, I'll tell you what, man. And I said this in the Trilly Donovan Discord in the Louisville section, but I said, man, his shot is so slow that when it's slow motion instant replay, it's actually faster than in real time. Like, I don't know, but he makes it work. But the thing about Terence Edwards isn't even the offense, which he's given plenty of. It's 2 things. One, when Chucky was out a couple of games, he picked up his ball distribution. He actually played a lot less herky-jerky, oddly enough, and was able to really have he had a game with 10 assists. His assist-to-turnover ratio got a lot better when it needed to, the most. But then the biggest thing, and Pat alluded to it way earlier in the show, is that he picked his defense up tenfold and became an elite defender. He was a okay defender at the beginning of the year. He knew he had to step it up in some way because he was struggling on offense at the beginning of the year, and it started with his defense. And he's not lost that the entire season. He's become an elite defender. So I'm going to go with Terence Edwards.
Yeah. I think, and I probably have to bow out here in 5 minutes, and I'll hang up and listen, as I would say if I was calling into a radio show. But another guy that, I mean, a lot of these guys exceeded my expectations, but another guy that, like, I didn't think could do the things he did at Charleston at this level is Rain Smith.
Yep.
I mean, I was like, this guy's a great shooter, but is he gonna, against high level competition, is he gonna be able to get his shot off and get open and stuff? And it's funny you mentioned Edwards being such a slow shooter, because I seriously think we might have the person with the quickest release in college basketball
and also the slowest
release in college basketball.
All water finds its level.
That's right. But no, yeah, I was super impressed with Rain this year too. I mean, he proved that he can be a Power 5 player and a big time impact at this level.
I want to make a quick point, just real quick. We talked about Hadley. We talked about James Scott. Two guys that can affect the game without having to put up a ton of stats. Just the things that they do, they impact the game. They make their presence felt. Scott is such a good post defender and he's a great defender. You also mentioned passing. Hadley the same way. Like they can affect the game, and you feel like they're not really doing a whole lot, but they are. If you really watch, it's pretty cool.
The ball movement on the team as a whole has been really fun to watch this year.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, hey, well, sorry. And I was gonna say, there's a chance we get both of them back.
Well, I
There's a chance we
think
get both of them back.
Man,
If you
that's something we
listen-
should talk about, man. They did not participate in senior day. I mean, look, I know you guys have privy to some of the same stuff that I do with some of the people there's a couple of people that they have really good connections, really good information, and everything we get secondhand. It sure does seem like this changes every day with who's coming back and who's not. And so I quit. I just gave up on following it. But I'll tell you what, the actions of those two not participating in senior day, and I mean, he said it's because they have more eligibility left. But I mean, damn well he wouldn't exclude them if he knew they weren't coming back.
yeah.
Like,
Well,
at the very least, the door's still open.
I was listening to the radio interview with him. Jody's radio, good old Jody. I can't go an episode with shouting out at Jody, whether it's good or bad. But I mean, Pat Kelsey said, Javon's got a lot more great days as a Cardinal ahead of him, which to me sounded like he was saying he'll be back next year.
And that's huge, man.
Yeah.
How about Quinn Slazinski being at the game today?
That's
I
random.
just had to bring that up because Derek
Most
mentioned
random cameo ever.
But that's awesome, though. He's been with like 25 teams, and he still comes back and says it's the best environments to Yum. That's awesome.
Him and Sidney Curry trying to get their 7th year of eligibility and play next year. Man.
Hey, man, you get Javon Hadley back. I mean, you hope Kason Pryor comes back to his old level, but he had a bad injury. But Javon is just solid, man. He's like a guy, you know what he's going to give you at bare minimum. And then on a great night, he's going to give you a huge game. Like he had a monster game. I think it was against Pitt, but he had a game recently. He had like 19-11 or 18-12 or something. And then, of course, he had that huge Clemson game. But then on a regular basis, he's going to get you a big bucket at the very least. He's going to play hard-nosed defense, can play multiple positions, and play them well. And, like, you can't replace that. And so I am curious. Nate Amint's out there. Obviously, he's pig suing it up this weekend. He's visiting Arkansas. I have a hard time seeing Cal losing that battle, getting the last visit. But you never know. His recruitment's been odd, and he has left other visits without committing. So I'm curious how you fit a guy like Nate Amint in if Hadley and Pryor come back, because you expect Scott to come back. Sananda Frew is going to join the team. Ali Khalifa's a 5. He'll be on the team unless he's not. But, I mean, I think the reason he redshirted here is he's expecting to come back. So I'm really curious. All those big bodies, whereas last year during the portal season, we were trying at the very end to fill the roster in the front court. I feel like we are front loaded in the front court going forward to the point where I'm really curious to see how all that shapes out.
Yeah.
I saw what that was in response to. So
26.
All right, boys.
I'm
out of here. It was awesome spending time with you guys again. Hopefully we can do some special episodes like this when we have time. But awesome year. Looking forward to the tournament. Looking forward to seeing where this team finishes. Making the tournament is, for me, everything is cherry on the top after this, but of course I want them to do it. But we're back, and that's what matters.
We're back.
But thanks, guys. I'm gonna get off and listen to you all the rest of the night.
Thanks for coming on, Pat. I was glad to talk to you some more. It's been a minute.
Good to see you, brother.
See you guys.
See ya.
Man, I can't say it enough. Like thank you guys for coming on tonight. Like, I really appreciate you, Kyle, Pat, and Ty. For coming on tonight, because
it's worth it.
I
man.
needed it. I'm being selfish.
It's all right.
I think we all did. I think we all did a little bit.
Well, when the thing about us kind of deciding, like, this isn't working because everybody can't be on, and we're scrambling, is the timing was right before. Like, we started the last game. We started this podcast the last game of year 1 of KP, or year 0, as he would say.
Year 0.
When we lost our 20.
I forgot about that bullshit.
Yeah. So we
0.
started this podcast right after the final game of his first year, when he said when he had the freaking interview, the press conference where he said, I don't understand the question. And we talked about that. He's like, we have the best staff in the country. So that's when we started. And then we freaking end the pod, just timing wise, right before PK's first game, like within like 2 or 3 weeks of that. And so, yeah, we had to get on here and at least have one final ride to talk about the incredible year. And I don't know. I know you were.
Sorry, Kyle. I was just going to say, like, you mentioned all that and how we started. I mean, think about it. We would come on this show and break down how we lost to Arkansas State by 12.
Oh, man.
And then we stop when we're winning freaking 19 out of 20 games.
And by the way, the chat with the comments were just cooking us.
I know.
Talking about how we weren't fans. Oh my God, I get gaslit so bad. There's
I can remember we would listen to those
around me after the stuff they said about me, because I wasn't on board from day one. I could just see it being a disaster, and I didn't hide it. And I mean, but I always kept it basketball related, and there was some shots. So like we went through hell just to get where we were at. We had to go through a lot of trials and tribulations because people just thought we were getting on here hating. So then to have to end the pod right before PK's big run, that kind of sucked.
When I remember we would play the post-game press conferences most games, and I would literally be pulling my hair out while we were watching those by some of his reactions. I mean,
it looks like you pulled it all out, brother.
I know. That's why I took my hat off. I was like, my God, sometimes his his answers to questions and stuff, it would just be like, is this for real? I mean, is this real life? Like, what is going on here?
So I know you were talking about listening to the press conference, Ash. I didn't know if you want to do that or not.
Yeah, I've got it.
You get on here an hour. I don't know how much time you got.
All right. What about you, Ty? You game?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do a little bit.
All right, here we go.
Hey, before you play it, Ash, can you remove me from the screen and bring me back here in a minute? Look for me when I come back.
I'm glad I'm happy. Usually when we used to listen to these press conferences,
I know usually this is like trauma getting ready to press play.
I'd be mad before a word was spoken. I'd be just sitting here seething. I'd have to mute my mic.
There we go.
So glad.
I mean, it was a magical day. It was special. The atmosphere was unbelievable. We honored a phenomenal group of young men that have done a lot to lift up this city and to reestablish the Louisville basketball brand, which, as we all know, its rightful place is amongst the best teams in the country. I give the crowd today so much credit for obviously the impact they had in the game, their belief in us. I thought the fact that they stayed, and it seemed like everybody was there. I mean, it was packed afterwards for that ceremony, and that meant a lot to those guys. It meant a lot to me as a head coach. Kyle's done a great job with that team. I feel bad, and I want to say this publicly, and I'll say it to him privately as well. Probably didn't handle the substitutions the right way, where I was trying to get those guys honored in the end. Probably not the right
man, pause it.
In terms of
pause it. Kyle Smith is the reason why Kyle has a bad rep.
Yep.
The name Kyle has such a bad reputation. It's up there with Chad's. And Kyle Smith, you are the walking epitome of what I have to carry the burden of this name because of people like you. How in the world could you be offended that we wanted to individually bring our seniors off of the court. Get better.
That's a big nothing burger,
If
man.
you didn't want that to happen, get better. Don't get down damn near 20 points by the time we decided to do that. If it's a 5-point game, none of those guys are coming out of the game.
Right.
And how are you're the real reason you are mad is because your team got their asses kicked. It's okay to be upset that you got your ass kicked.
Yeah.
You should be upset that you got your ass kicked. It's not okay to deflect and blame. So screw that. And PK is just a class. You know, PK is the Ted Lasso of college basketball. If anybody's seen the show Ted Lasso, he's just a super nice dude. But a damn good coach, but he's like really nice and down to earth dude. I know he's got some dog in him. Like I remember when he got into with FAU players, he's got some dog, but it takes a lot. And so I know he's just doing the classy thing, but screw Kyle Smith for all that.
Kyle Smith, skill issue, buddy. Get better.
All my homies hate Kyle Smith.
Skill issue.
All right, go ahead.
Kind of disrespecting your opponent a little bit. So
No, it
I apologize for that. And I'll be better moving forward. But
I
you
won't.
know, you guys know me in these press conferences. You always
said,
want to ask me questions
fuck
about,
off.
you know,
Yeah.
the postseason and things like that. And I'm only worried about the next team. For one day, you have me in a day where I don't know who the next team we're playing is. So this is kind of one time where I'm like, I don't know who I'm preparing for right now. So you can kind of take a deep breath and get above the trees. And I always tell our guys, you know, perspective from when they walked in for summer 1 and June 5th, we broke the year down into these segments, and we just focused on that segment. It was summer 1, summer 2, then it was fall pre-practice, then it was preseason practice, then it was non-conference, then it was conference, and then it's ACC tournament, and the last one would be the NCAA tournament, which that one doesn't matter right now. It's our sole focus is on the ACC. But when you look back over that journey, it's been a fun one with a really, really special group of men and women as part of our 25 strong, and I'm blessed to be their coach.
Instead of asking you to look forward, ask you to look back. Before the season started, did you think 25-6, 18-2 in the ACC was possible? Have you exceeded what you even thought?
I mean, I told somebody the other day, I'm convinced we're going to lose every single game. It's just how I prepare. I think
you
that
guys get on to
of
me for that.
Not preparing and not putting our guys in the best position
Ty,
puts me in this maniacal mode.
Wait, what? What happened?
not even listening. He said he feels like they're going to lose every game. And every time I tell you guys I'm nervous and I hype a team up, you guys just tell me that it's ridiculous, it's hysteria, it's negative. See,
DK,
we all
you're
got
just like
DK
Kyle
in our
for
heart.
real. You're just like Kyle for real.
Just kind of do what I do. It's sometimes your greatest strength can be your greatest weakness. You got to kind of be able to balance that a little bit. But no, I mean, I always, that's just how I am. I don't know if that's good or bad. It's probably not very healthy. I'd like always see all the ways that number 42 for Stanford could have 90 on us, because he can't get 90 because nobody ever does, but he's a problem.
Beast.
And so no, I never thought that we win a certain number of games or this or this. I mean, I have a confidence and a belief in who we are, what we do as a staff, and what we do in terms of building our program. And so it usually works out for us, but man, I didn't think we'd be in this position right now, but it's been so much fun. Like I said, I was just kind of Joe Bag of Donuts, mid-major guy, and Josh Hurd took a chance on me. And, the fear of letting your guys down in preparation is one of those things. But, just working your butt off every day to make Josh look good, that he made a good hire, that motivates me every single day. And he's a great leader. He's become a great confidant and a friend of mine. And he's doing an unbelievable job leading this athletic department. And, so when I sit here today, when I don't know who the next game is, it is a little bit of that sense of he could have hired a million other people that are probably more qualified than I. He took a chance on me, and we've done right by him. So Now it's the next thing. Let's go to the ACC tournament and work our butts off to be able to climb up a ladder and cut down nets. There's no guarantee. We just got to win that first game, whoever the heck that is.
Coach, I know you said that, you put this team together, you went out there, you recruited guys, but until you get them on the court and you get them out there, you really don't know what you have together as a group.
Mm-hmm.
Just talk about this team as kind of the benchmark moving forward for every other team. You only have one first team. So how important is what this team did do for you moving forward?
I've had 13 of them now as a head coach, and it's like at Louisville. Yeah. Oh, gosh. You're right. I mean, I've said this before. A bunch of guys are from parts all over the world that didn't know each other from anything, and we asked them to love each other on day one. It's weird for a bunch of 21, 22, 19-year-old guys that are, I got teenagers. They're too cool a lot. You need to love him, right? It's the uncommon commitment to the guy next to you. And in today's day and age with NIL and money involved and the aspect of professional sports that we're in, and people ask me, I don't know, is it going to change? It's like, we're not changing. It's about us. It's about winning. It's about your teammate. And if you're not about that, don't come here, and give my staff a lot of credit for identifying those type of guys. And that's the type of locker room that we have. They're a joy to coach.
Yeah, Pat, you talked about, since day one, showing the guys that little PowerPoint presentation about trying to get them to understand just what this program means. So to go from that moment to then, to have a guy like, a Chucky today, I kissed the Cardinal bird at midcourt as he's getting checked out. How does that make you feel as a coach to feel as if, they finally got the message, just how much this program means, for Chucky to do that today?
Because I feel, even though these guys are here for 1 year, I mean, I don't know. I can't speak for the fan base, but gosh darn, I think they're going to be beloved and revered and held up and remembered for a long, long time. And how cool is that? I mean, Chucky had a magnificent career at Wisconsin. He hit the shot to win the Big Ten title.
Chad just got me, man. I just
sophomore.
Can we pause? Can we pause? Okay.
What am I missing?
I'm sorry. I'm trying to listen to PK, but what in the hell is going on in chat right now? What is happening?
Yeah, I can't keep up.
Why are we doing the lyrics?
There's a lot of heavy drinking going on. That's the only thing
What is happening?
I don't know.
Oh shit. I tried to hold it together, but I'm like, what is going on, Robbie?
Hey,
We
Pat
got
Kelsey.
Tom Kingston lyrics. We got HTML5. What the is going on with you guys?
What I get out of this is Pat Kelsey declares game over during the first TV timeout. He says it's over.
I'm glad someone's paying attention because I
was trying not to laugh, but I was like, I just broke.
I just don't know what's going on over here.
Yeah, it's like this is actually a really good presser. I don't know what they're doing.
It probably is, and I'm sorry, PK, but holy shit.
You can resume.
Okay, let's
multiple NCAA tournaments. I mean, Greg Gard's a phenomenal.
They don't
coach.
deserve you,
It's a
PK.
great program, and he was a major part of that, and and he's got a special place in his heart for that place, But for him to come here and go all in on being a Louisville Cardinal, even though it's 1 year, and to walk out there before he checks out for the last time and kiss the floor, that is storybook.
Yes, it is.
And I'm so glad that those guys and Chucky had that moment today because it was special.
As you kind of alluded to, senior night is drastically different from when you got into coaching, and guys were there 4 years, and this team is totally different in that respect. So how special is this group to you, given all of the challenges you had putting them together and then getting into play at this level?
Been my life has been nuts for the last 11 and a half months. Awesome. I mean, one of the most exhilarating, exciting times of my professional life, but there's so much that goes into taking a new job and moving your family and the emotional parts of that, and the effort that goes into building the program back up. And again, you take a moment right now, take a deep breath and go, man, what a journey. And these guys were a part of that, and I'll feel indebted to them and tied to them and connected to them because of what they did and what they've accomplished in this city and lifting it up again. I'll remember it for the rest of my life, but they're not done. I mean, obviously they're not done. Like, these guys are hungry. There wasn't even like a big celebration in there. It was like, next thing, right? That's the off day tomorrow. Find out who we play by tomorrow, and then we'll turn our attention to preparation, and we'll just be about the next thing and going down to Charlotte, trying to win an ACC championship. So I hate when you guys make me start like talking about something else besides the next thing, but you caught me today. You got me.
I did want to ask you about the next thing. You brought up the ACC tournament. How do you see that stacking up?
I mean, I really haven't given it one thought because it was just Stanford. Josh asked me earlier in the week, hey, are you all set for the tournament? Logistics, tickets? I go, Josh, I have no idea. Where's it at? You know what I mean? So, I mean, I knew it was in Charlotte, but
the teams though. So
Thank God it's not in Green.
yeah, but in terms of like the seeding and stuff, I haven't taken 1 second to go like, okay, here's the 3 or 4 teams we may play based on. I have no idea. So, I have great respect for every coach in this conference and for every single team. And I know whatever game we play, you might know the 3 or 4 we might play. I have no clue. It's going to be a really, really tough game because they all are.
Better not be an asshole Kyle Smith.
Earlier, I asked Terence about experiencing this moment with his son.
Yeah.
And I'd like to know, what it's like for you to experience that with yours.
Yeah, man. Thanks for bringing that up. What a special moment. He walks out
question.
with his newborn son, his namesake. Just see him with those big dimples and that big smile on his face when he walked out. And he's just such a neat kid. He's going to be an extraordinary dad. And then you asked me to be able to share this journey with my children and my son. My girls don't want to be at practice every day. You know what I mean? They don't. My son, he does. And it's like a pitcher throwing a no-hitter. I don't want to talk about it because, I don't want it to stop because that cat wants to be in the Kiever Center every day. He gets picked up from his school and he comes to the practice facility every day. How cool is that?
Future car.
Stands next to me at the national anthem. How cool is that? The greatest responsibility I have in my life is to be the best father that I can be. And the job my wife does at home, raising those kids and who they're turning out to be is a tip of the cap to her. But man, it's so cool. And again, that's Dr. Schatzel and Josh Hurd. Let's
Less
me do
time
that.
to scout, Neil. You
I
better
think
believe I'm
the best
worried.
version of myself as a professional, as a coach, because they allow the family and the professional life to kind of mix like that. So it's special. But thanks for asking.
Seeing back on this game today, you guys gave up. We gave up 18 points in the first half. I asked the players about just the things that were working for you all on that end of the court, and Terence said that kind of came down to you guys fixing things. Things that you thought that you could do defensively, but then when the game starts and you realize you can't do that. Could you speak to maybe what some of those fixes were for you all to be able to really hold them in the first half and build up that lead?
We took post trap on and off, right? Because he's a very, very good post player. So sometimes we did, sometimes we didn't. We varied up our ball screen coverage. We were being aggressive and affecting the ball and jumping the ball. And then we kind of went to a curveball a little bit and didn't jump it as much because they used the pick and roll to obviously attack and score. But, he's a major threat going gravity toward the rim and gravity away from the rim because he can shoot it so well. You saw some of those threes he reined in today. So he makes you, and Kyle's a really good coach, and he makes you make tough decisions on how you're going to guard that pick and roll because you're susceptible to the pick and pop. And then it allows him to get into the post and get deep post position. So our guys do a great job of adjustments. Sometimes the adjustments come from them. I thought Brian, as our defense coordinator, does a good job with that. And they're like, I got a bunch of coaches. James Scott took this game personal now. Obviously 42 is decorated and he should be. He's a pro. you know.
Yeah, PK warned him out
I
of the
always just
portal.
focus on the next thing. I think I found out that James was kind of doing some Stanford scouting over the last 2 weeks or so, because there's no way he could have come in 10 minutes after the game and already knew 5 or 6 things that he wanted to do to defend that kid in the post. So that's just the type of basketball savant that he is. But they're all like that. And when we make adjustments, they make them really well. I told you guys a long time ago at a press conference, it amazed me when we went into the first workouts in the summer, and I was like, you know, putting a couple things in. They were like, pop, 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 got it. I'm like, holy cow. You know, and I think that's one of the things that makes them a really good group.
And then one more for me is that Rain, he had a boot on today during the game, took it off for senior day. Just how is he doing? And, that moment with him being, the only player that you coached for all 4 years, I'm out of this group. What is the status heading into next week's tournament?
I don't have an update. Obviously, Katie could answer that better, but he's a tough kid and he's going to get treatment like crazy, and hopefully he'll be ready to go. But I got no update on that. Yeah, I mean, I've seen him go from a boy to a man. If you saw some of the pictures, when somebody sent a picture the other day, he's going to kill me for saying this. We should find it, put it on social media. It was like right when he got to Charleston, he's like, first time traveling away from home, the other side of the world. And we're like, hey, man, you should go to the beach. So he goes to the beach with a couple of the guys, and they took a picture. He looks like he's 11. Looks like Johnny. Just to see how he's developed, as a person, as a basketball player. He's a special kid. It's awesome to have his family in from Australia for this. Heartbroken for him that he didn't get to be on the court today and experience. I mean, he did, but he wasn't out there, and I know that hurt him a lot. And there's very few guys I've ever coached that's tougher. So, like, you bank on that kid's going to work his butt off over the next however many days to hopefully be ready to go when we get to Charlotte.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
So next we get the winner of Virginia Tech and Cal versus Stanford. So we could
Kyle Smith, we're coming to whip that ass again.
We could see Kyle Smith again. Honestly, I hope he loses the first game.
Hey, you know what? Here's what I'm going to say.
I mean, not because I'm afraid of them. I'm just saying, like, I don't want Kyle Smith to win any more games.
I'm going to say this. Kyle Smith, I did think he was kind of whining a little too much about the substitution thing, because I looked over there and he was whining about it. But I'll give him credit. Stanford came out prepared to play today, and they scouted us really well. They were always right there on the catch. Made great defensive rotations. They defended really well today, I think. We just made more plays. We were just better. But I'll give him credit. He is a good in-game coach.
Yeah, I was impressed with Ty. You could tell they really, without Rain out there, you could tell their next goal was like, let's take Terence Edwards out of this game. Like, you could tell they really made it a point to make him uncomfortable, to double team him towards the top of the key, which he's kind of uncomfortable with that at times, and they exploited that. Whereas if you do that and Rain's out there running off of flare screens and you're trying to double team, you probably can't do that because he's going to be wide open. So I did think he had a really good scouting report. Terrence played a good game on defense, and he had his moments too on offense, but he also had some herky-jerky plays that didn't go his way, and I think a lot of that was a credit to Stanford. I will say that I thought Waterman had played a second good game in a row where he hit some big shots. He didn't do anything that really cost us, which was big. Kadir Traore, I think he played well. I think they had a game plan for him today to attack Reynold. And at first, I feel like he did a really good job with that. But then there's a couple times where, you can't really post him up. Like, you got to blow past him. If you're Kadir with his athleticism, you got to blow past Reynold in order to score. But if you try posting him up, or you try staying, like, if you let him stay in front of you, it's gonna be a long day. And I did think at times we struggled with their length getting out on contests, because they have a couple of big guys. And I really thought the officiating, it was fair both ways, but man, they let a lot go on both sides. And with Stanford having a bigger team at times, that gave us some problems. But you know, as we've always done, we found a way to adjust. And
Did Kyle, you'll be able to answer this. Noah, when he was injured, did they said he had like a thumb surgery?
he did. He got stents put in his thumb. And
Do you think the speed school gave him like a bionic thumb or
oh, you set me up on that one.
yeah, that's
Oh my God. I'm so sick of hearing
I
about
would have never
speed
realized they
school.
could have designed a mask.
Man, I'm
Hey Ash, did you know the speed school actually made that mask?
Did you know why Kadir wears number 25? That's actually a cool story. I get that one because it's like that's a cool story where like first time listeners, like we hear it all the time. But like a first time listener is gonna think that's a really cool story about how he came with what was it, either $25 or 25 cents. And that's all he had. I think it was $25.
That's pretty cool.
And so nonetheless, we've heard it a million times. But the
It is
speed
almost
school
brisket
thing,
season.
why is the speed school thing such a big deal? Like to talk about.
I mean, they did make the mask. I think they gave Noah his new thumb, so it's kind of a big deal.
I heard that they created Wiley Brown's thumb too.
Yeah, probably.
Ash with the jokes that only like 20% of the population are old enough to understand.
Hey, I'm a youngin', and even I know that one.
Well, it's been a good night, boys. It's always good to get back on here. It's good to see some old familiar names in the chat. Y'all were on a bender tonight. Speaking of bender, I see his name in there, but you guys were on a bender tonight. I don't know what was going on, but next up, like I said earlier, the winner of Virginia Tech and California versus Stanford. So we could see Stanford back to back. Could see Virginia Tech again, which that was a close game at Virginia Tech. And I'm just appreciative that everybody came back on here. Like I said earlier, like we talked about, we just felt like we had to get on here at least one last time after a hell of a season, man.
I don't know if I totally get this question because obviously Chucky wasn't on that team, but like, I wanted to bring this up earlier when he posted it. But if you had to choose for one of these three guys, I think I'm taking Chucky every day of the week.
I meant to bring that up as a question earlier. Chucky Hepburn is the best point guard since who?
I mean, technically, if you're going by the best since, it is Carleek, right? I mean, Carleek was the last really, really good point guard we had.
Yeah, but he's better than
when
Carleek.
I'm saying
so you
since,
go back.
when I'm saying since, like who is the last point guard that was better than Chucky Hepburn? That's a better way to say it.
I don't know because Russ played the two.
Russ played the two mainly.
If and this might be blasphemy, but I might take Chucky over Peyton.
I would.
And I hate to say that because he was on the title team. So you're really going back at that point.
Listen,
Reese Gaines played the one, so it might be the best since Reese Gaines.
That's kind of where I'm at too, is Reese, and
that's
Reese was a bucket. He didn't have near the talent, but Reese was a bucket. But I don't know though, because when you equate defense, Reese was a solid defender, but was he better than Chucky?
I mean, he carried some teams though.
So
was Chucky, but even Chucky, I think, has had more weapons around him than Reese did.
Well, but to get to Siva, that's a more recent one, and it's close because I was thinking about defense. I would probably give a push there because I mean, Chucky's an elite defender. Peyton was an elite defender.
Yeah.
I'll give that a push. Ball distribution, I will give Siva a little bit of an edge, like a slight edge to being able to distribute the basketball, but it's close. But I think what separates it, those two, the defense is close, the ball distribution is close, the offense, the shooting, and the ability to create your own shot, that's to me where Chucky's he's not as athletic or quick as Siva was, but he's more efficient.
Yeah, I think you go back to Reese.
Because he hit a shot today, for example, even towards the end, he had two of them today. He had two fadeaways. That's the toughest shot in basketball.
And the one was he was almost horizontal by the time he let go of the ball.
Not that he could do as consistently or as good, but the only guys that can really go horizontal, fading backwards and going I call it diagonal because you're going backwards too.
Yeah.
But more diagonal is MJ and Kobe. And they're the only ones that consistently do it. So he did it twice today though. And one of them was at the very end of the game. He took a shot on the second or third to last possession of the game. And he did that. And so Siva, Peyton could get you a bucket, but he wasn't a great shooter.
Right.
He often had to get to the rack to get you a bucket. He was more of a distributor and a defender who could occasionally have a big game. But consistently on offense,
all around player, I think you got to go back to Reese for the best point.
You might be right, man.
I do think he's the best overall guard since Russ.
Yeah, I would say Russ was a little better.
Yes,
this can't be my only metric. The only reason I say Carleek really because, and it's one of those things I think you got to really think back to. I know that year Carleek's year was rough, right? We didn't make the tournament, but Carleek was also in my opinion a stronger ACC. He was second in Player of the Year voting, and I that can't be the only metric. I think we all know Cooper Flagg's going to win Player of the Year in the ACC, but is Chucky going to get maybe a couple votes? Where's Chucky going to finish on that? That might help me make my determination. But they're all great players, man. They're all great players.
Yeah.
Chucky is great. He's going to go down in history here, I think, in just 1 year. Same with Carleek, Reese Gaines got me into Louisville sports. So you're talking about great players.
Carleek, I would probably say is a slightly better offensive player, but I don't know if he's quite the distributor. I'd have to remember.
Carleek is a bucket.
He's a bucket. Yeah. He's if I need somebody to give me a bucket and create for themselves, I'm taking Carleek over Chucky. But if I need somebody to get others involved, I'm probably taking Chucky.
Yeah.
And on defense, I think that's where
Chucky on defense. Yeah.
I got Chucky on defense.
But Carleek could guard too.
Carleek can guard. He wasn't a bad defender, but he was not a ball hawk.
It's not Louisville related, but what Carleek did with South Sudan was very impressive. It makes me kind of it kind of reminds me a little bit.
Didn't Carleek have David Johnson with him? Or am I misremembering?
David was
time is blended together.
They both shared the backcourt.
Yeah, so he had DJ back there with him. I mean, he wasn't too bad.
DJ was a solid defender too, so it helped. You're talking about great players, man. You can't go wrong.
Yeah, I was talking he said no one on that team. I was like, I don't know, man. David Johnson was pretty good. I mean, he had his struggles at times, but I mean, he made the NBA.
I mean, David played in the NBA, so we can't go there. But
so did I'm blanking Chris Smith.
Well, yeah, that did happen too.
Even though he was a good college player, but he had no business being on the.
That's like a Bronny James type of thing.
Yeah, it was. J.R. Smith had some pull. I don't know how, but
he lost it all in 2018. But that was after. That was after the draft. But anyway,
you guys got anything else tonight?
I didn't say it were the 96 Bulls, Doc.
I know.
I almost said his real name, but
I'll give my final closing statement so we can kind of wrap it up.
Yeah.
Today was very, very special. For all the 19,000 that were there today, we got to see it firsthand. That was special. An incredible year, incredible season. I'm so excited for the future. And we still have an NCAA tournament to play. And I know all of us are going to be excited and thrilled when we see that ball tip off. I can't be remiss. Also, I got to mention, and I know this has been strictly basketball talk, but this is the Third Banner Pod. We are talking about Louisville sports. Jeff Brom, we see what you're doing, brother. You are cooking. You are cooking with gas. We see what you're doing. This is a lot of fun times right now.
And we were saying, some of us, I know there was disagreement, but I was banging a drum that we need to balance out the classes with a few more talented high school guys.
He heard you. Hold my beer.
Well, I'm not saying even heard me. I'm just saying, if I'm going to get on to him about that, I'm also going to, say kudos and you're busting your ass. And I mean, the guys that were lining up and getting committed right now, and apparently there's more coming. So, and I don't know who they are, but just said there's more. So
we got an all line commitment 30 minutes before we came on.
Yeah. And I mean, if you look at the offers that guy had,
yeah,
every big school,
Miami, Florida.
a lot of big schools. So like that's impressive. And I think if you balance that out with the portal classes, I think now you're really working with something that's long term is more sustainable. Obviously, you're going to lose some guys. Some guys won't turn out. That's going to happen no matter what in this era. But I think that's the best way to go. And props to the staff right now because they are crushing it on the recruiting trail.
Kyle, did you want to give your final statements or?
Just it's been a hell of a year. Great season. This team is, like I said, towards the beginning of this, they have set the standard of what it means to play for Louisville. Even if you're only going to play for a year, they've put things in. They've established a culture. They've put the blueprint in place to where more talented teams that have more depth, that's the standard. And then the talent and depth you hope continues to improve and hopefully less injuries. And so, like, I'm not going to talk too much about the future for now because I don't want to take away from this current team. I will end it by saying that, you know, obviously everybody's favorite team or most people's is a 2013 team. Some people cite the 2005 Final Four team. 2012 was so close to 2013. People usually just pick the 2013 team because it was mostly the same team. But I've always said two teams I really enjoy, which I'm going to show my age here, and Ash is going to be all for it. The 97 team, which I know Ash really liked them as well. And DeJuan Wheat made a huge run to Elite Eight because they overachieved. But that 2011 team was a rebuilding team, and Preston knows
that was the Preston team.
Over, man. I love that.
Somebody gave some real Preston hate in the Discord earlier this year, and I was like flabbergasted.
I know, I saw that too, but whatever. We all got opinions. And I said something the other day everybody thought was blasphemous. I don't remember what now. Something about I didn't want to see us sit everybody out or sit rain out for the ACC championship tournament because I was afraid, you know, you wouldn't have momentum going into the tournament. But anyway, so we all say things, but that was blasphemous. But my point is, like, 2011, that team, I loved them. It obviously did not end well, losing to Morehead State. But nonetheless, even with that loss, that was probably my second favorite team. And the 97 was my favorite team, besides the obvious championship and Final Four teams. I think this is my favorite team. I need time. Where it's not recency bias, but because of everything we've been through, because it's a first year head coach here in his first season here, simulating a team like this, all brand new guys from the jump, from 6 feet under, we built this thing. I think this is going to be my favorite team, the Revivalists. That's what I'll always call them, as the Revivalists.
And I'll try to make mine quick. I do have a few things I wanted to hit on. First thing in regards to this team, we're going to win some games in the next couple of weeks. I think this is going to be a really fun end of the season. As far as everything that happened today, I think Ty summed it up best.
Five star in my book.
Still know why Ross is spinning like this in that clip. If you look at Ross, he's just going like this.
I'll do it.
Five star in my book.
I never noticed that till you.
I notice it every time because he's just like spinning. He's probably tweaking. I don't know what he's doing. I'm kidding.
The other thing is, we have Coach House. We got 266 days until we beat Kentucky again in football.
Hell
so
yeah,
I had
brother.
to hit that. Lastly, though, thank you guys again for coming on. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I've been watching the streaming numbers tonight, and it really, it really made me emotional at one point to know that we've been gone off this thing for months, and to have that many people tune in tonight live, it really meant something to me. And it really motivates me to want to do better. Oh, and Couch House was watching, so 266 days, Couch House.
Right. Yeah, I really didn't think anybody'd show up tonight.
I know. I mean, we had good numbers most of the night, so like it really meant a lot to me that you guys cared to tune in to us and hear our takes again. Thank you guys so much. And for Ross, go Cards, go Krogering.
Cards.